Video games are art, and nowhere is this more apparent than in the Plucky Squire, the debut title from All Possible Futures. While, yes, its illustrated style is gorgeous and charming, that's not the only reason why I think that it's art. The Plucky Squire is a story about the tales that inspire us, and also manages to be a love letter to the art form itself, not just through its story, but through its gameplay as well. All Possible Futures is a studio co-founded by James Turner and Jonathan Biddle, friends since 2001 that always had wanted to make a game together. You might recognize Bid's work, including Fluidity and Swords of Ditto. While both are phenomenal games, you're more likely to recognize James's work as a designer on the Pokemon series, creating fan favorites from Shadow Lugia to Galarian Zigzagoon to Tatsugiri. Thankfully, these two got their wish decades later after they met, as they joined forces to create the Plucky Squire. When they started working on this title, they were pitching different ideas to their publisher, Devolver. That's when they looked to James' webcomic, Cosmic, for inspiration. His art was whimsical and charming, so it made for a great style for this title. The attention to detail in environments and animations makes it obvious that the Plucky Squire is a passion project. The Plucky Squire starts off feeling like a 2D Zelda title, being a top-down adventure where Jot, the player character, slashes little enemies with his sword. The pages of the book turning as you explore new areas is so charming, really driving that storybook motif home. You'll even have moments where you have a bit of side-scrolling platforming to do, similar to Link's Awakening. One bit that spices up the 2D gameplay is the ability to rewrite the story you're in. There are certain words that can be picked up and replaced. It's not quite Baba Is You levels of world manipulation, but it makes for some fun puzzle solving. Adults might not be stumped by these puzzles, but it'll be a lot of fun for younger players. As you progress through the story, the evil wizard Humgrump realizes that he, and everyone else in the game, are just characters in a story, and he is sick of losing. Knowing this, he kicks Jot out of his own story and into the real world. The real world sections are very charming, and almost have a toy-like appearance to them, and they make for a great pace breaker. As Jot tries to find his way back in the book, he learns that he's on the desk of a young boy that went on to become an author because he was inspired by Jot's story. However, if he doesn't get back and return that book to normal, the story will no longer be inspiring, and that boy will no longer become an author. I like this plot point for a wide variety of reasons. One is that it discusses the rippling effects of inspiration. Something that you make can go and inspire someone else to create, which can inspire others to create, and so on. Sometimes a good story makes such an impact on someone's life that it ends up becoming an impact on so many others. I like that this also sets the stakes for something beyond just the player. It's no longer about fighting an evil wizard. It's about setting a child's story right so he can go on and create. It simultaneously raises the stakes and keeps the story grounded, which I love. After entering the real world, Jot gains the ability to jump from the desk to the page, and vice versa, so long as there's a portal to do so. There's some creative applications of this, allowing for Jot to travel up a 2D segment to reach a new area of the 3D world, or leaving his book so he can turn its pages to grab something from earlier in the story. It feels a bit like the core mechanic of A Link Between Worlds, but applied in a much bigger and more interesting way. The Plucky Squire has been one of my most anticipated games this year, and it doesn't disappoint. It oozes charm, and you can tell throughout its entire playtime that it's a game that All Possible Futures wanted to make. James Turner's art's always delightful, and the variety of mechanics that the game employs all feel like they're pushing the game's medium to a new high. Even though it's an ambitious title, I don't think it's an inaccessible one. Younger players shouldn't have much issue enjoying the Plucky Squire, but older players will love it too. If you're a parent, I think it's a great title to introduce your child to adventure games. And if you're not a parent, I just think it's a great adventure game and that you should play it. All Possible Futures pulled no punches with their debut title. The Plucky Squire is an absolute delight, and I can't recommend it enough.